Wow, that was beautiful. Something always brings me back to you. It never takes too long. I was living in Bragg Creek. I was doing the rounds of the stores because I like to support them. It was cold yesterday. I thought, oh, there's probably not a lot of people out there. And the one store I really love is the garden shop. You walk in there and you see all the garden stuff, right? It's like, oh, it's great. And she's always has new little knickknacks, for the garden and beyond the garden. And there was a sign that said, and it's the one I remembered of all the signs. Not very well, obviously. I want to get it right. When it gets too hard to stand, kneel. And that's what that song reminded me of. It's kind of what we're talking about this month. So get your knee pads on. Or your little garden, whatever they call those things that you kneel on when you're doing the earth and filling the flower boxes. Trusting the process. Because trusting the process, you can't do. When you're standing observing this physical world, you have to take a step back. And often, when you take a step back, and you stay there long enough, kneeling is a place you end up. Trusting, receiving the good of life, receiving the good of the God that you are, and surrendering to it. This Christian idea of giving your life over to God is a very interesting idea. But when the God that we give it over to actually is who we are and we're not separate from it, it doesn't operate without us or outside of us, what are we surrendering to? What are we giving ourselves over to? Well, today's topic is the inner roommate. So I might suggest that we give ourselves over to our inner roommate. I don't know if you've had roommates before, probably in the earlier days in our 20s in university or whatever. I haven't had roommates for a long time, until just recently. And I really like my roommate. My roommate is the exact making of my own mind. My roommate is quiet, considerate, a little eccentric, but keeps it to themselves. Hardly ever there. So I have space. I have space to move, to think, to dance, to do whatever I want. But is reliable, count onable. Yeah, I've got a good roommate. Now that's my house roommate. That's not the roommate inside my own head, right? So the inner roommate inside of our own mind has a lot to say. This roommate never shuts up, to put it bluntly. It tells us what to do. It tells us what not to do. And it narrates. Do you notice that? It narrates. You come up, you're in a car, and you come up to a light, and it goes, oh, the light's red. Like I don't see that. It goes, oh, look, there's a car. Look at that car. Well, that's an odd car. Oh, and look at the car behind it. It's exactly the car I've always wanted. Except, of course, I can't afford to pay for that car. Oh, and look at that dog. What a stunning dog waiting to cross the road. And its owner definitely could use a shave. So it's like narrates life outside of us that we already see. That if we're not distracted by this inner voice in our head, then we get to be the witness, the eye that actually hears the inner voice. Ernest Holmes always said we're the thinker behind the thought. But I've started to think after years of looking at this teaching that we are the one that hears the thought. I've divorced myself from even being the thinker. Actually, we are everything, right? But just for the sake of maybe swallowing this big possibility. The big possibility being that all that God is, that we are, and that we have this intelligence within us all the time, and as that we think God thinks, or as our mind works, the universal mind works. So in order to trust the process, what is that process, first of all? Well, the process is the way in which this unformed, unseen essence, this intelligence moves upon itself in accordance to the energy put into it. We'll talk about us as intelligent human beings. As we put that energy into it through our thought and the emotion that's behind that thought that makes that energy really tangible and visceral, and it pours that energy into the mind of God or this intelligence, it takes it and it brings it back out to us in like form or like energy, which is a little bit different in that although it's like energy, if it isn't the form we had in mind, we don't notice it as getting the demonstration we asked for. Because it might be energetically a match, which it always is, but it might not carry the form or the shape of what it is we have asked for or we think is what we want. So that's the process. So that's called the universal creative process. And it becomes imperative to trust it, because if we don't trust it, then we live in this idea that that we've given our life over to our inner roommate, basically. So I want to talk a little bit more in depth about that. Because I think it's really exciting to be called forward in life by the mystery. Now, often this mystery, which is this unknown phenomenon, or it's this piece of the puzzle you can't figure out, it does intrigue us. And there's a part of us that identifies with it because we are the mystery, meaning that we are so much more than we have experienced ourselves to be or known ourselves as. That's that place within us, Holmes calls the divine urge, that's always wanting to open and expand and express. But often we give way to the narrator or the judge or that inner critic, that roommate, even when the roommate is saying beautiful things about life and about us. See, we can't really move into the mystery if we identify with anything the voice in our head says. We cannot identify with the limited ideas and the ones that take us down or that keep us stuck or that make us afraid. We also can't identify with the ones that want to set us free and be creative. Why is that? In Science of Mind, in the teaching, we say that when those limited thoughts have a chokehold on us, we need to not turn away from them, but come into them, right? Feel the fear and do it anyway. Understand what they are. Understand perhaps where they come from. And then make a new choice to change the conversation and move forward in that new conversation. Right? And build up a new pattern of thinking, of habitual thinking. That's the work we do as religious science students. But what if we do that as a first step just to realize that we can shift and change our experience through changing our consciousness? What if we don't identify with the good or the bad thoughts, the limited or the unlimited thoughts? What if we just identify ourselves with the person, as the person, the I who hears those thoughts and nothing else? What if we don't try to go in and change the thoughts? What if we don't try to judge them or analyze them or figure out where they came from? What if we just let them be there and not attach ourselves to them in identity? What then? Well, I would think the mystery is upon us. Now, the reason we have a roommate, I think, is to filter and to kind of keep us in control so that we know. Because, we need to know, right? We need to know. Because we need to feel safe and secure. I mean, that's a natural human need, right? Yeah. Nothing wrong with that. But what are we looking at and what are we associating with for that security. Ah, he said, scratching his head. That is the question. Huh? This is what Osho says. Compliments of my roommate. Not the one in my head, the other one that lives in my house. Remember one thing. Never do anything in the mood when the poison is possessing you. Just wait. Waiting and not doing anything in a hurry. One day you will be surprised seeing the inner change, and what I am saying is not repression. I am not saying to repress the negative. I am saying watch the negative. Remember the difference. A tremendous difference is there. Know thyself does not mean sit silently and repeat, I am Brahma, I am soul, I am God, I am this. It's all nonsense. Know thyself means know all thy climates. The murderer, the sinner, the criminal, the saint, the holy man inside you, the virtue, the God, the devil know all the climates, the whole range of it. And by knowing it, you will be discovering secrets. For me, that's why it's important to live in the mystery and love it. To trust this universal process, this creative intelligence that is you and always moving as you, that you're always thinking into and that is always responding to in kind. Always, the law of correspondence. Because if you cannot own anything, if you can observe it, when I say don't own it, I don't mean don't be responsible for it. I just mean let it be what it is, because you are so much more. If you are the eye that hears the thoughts and do not associate your thoughts with any of those thoughts, no matter what the thoughts may be, there is a freedom there. And there is the place. It's like taking that blank sheet of canvas as a painter. It's that whole new experience of life. Now, in Science of Mind and Spirit, we talk about new thought. New thought. That's what we are. We're a new thought organization. We're a new thought movement. Well, we all know, of course, there is no new thought. But there's a new experience that can be had as me, right? And so that's really what that, to me, is about. It's having a direct experience with me newly. That's what's exciting. If we get lost in the world of thoughts, then we'll just remain the thinker, right? We'll just remain experiencing the thoughts and responding to the thoughts. So I don't want to do that anymore. I've done that a lot. And, I do it. I do it sometimes. I did it this week, as a matter of fact. I got right in there. Right in there. So I just kept pressing Monday. I just kept pressing the remote control. And I just sat with them. I didn't need to look at, and I got distracted by the TV, and then I went back, and it was actually a refreshing, cleansing day. It was wonderful. I wasn't trying to escape these thoughts. Have you ever had the feeling that if you go down deep enough, you'll find the icky, sticky, dark, gooey mess, and that you'll never come up from air? Has that ever crossed your mind? Mm-hmm. It's not true. There's always air. The inner roommate is really the voice inside our heads that we take everywhere we go. And it often carries on about something or nothing. Sometimes we don't notice, but often we pay very strict attention. So here's a little test. If you take 3 objects that are in your house right now, just 3 objects, could be a dog, a plant, or whatever, and put them over there on the wall across from you in your mind. Now I'm going to ask you, which of those objects are you? Yeah, which of those objects are you? And you'll probably say, none of them. Probably. But you'll probably also say, I'm not those objects, because I am me. I am the one who's looking at those objects. Therefore, you are the seer. So those objects are thoughts. I am not those thoughts. I am neither this one or that one or this one. I am the one that hears those thoughts. I am the one that sees. People have probably asked you, who are you? The first thing, if it's at a party or a social event where you don't really know anybody, you'll probably give your name. And then the part I don't like is, What do you do? Yeah, that's the part I don't like. And so sometimes I make up stories now. Because I'm bored. I'm tired of saying, well, I'm the spiritual director of the Joy of Life Center, and I have a radio show, and it's like, yawn. Who am I? Right? So you get beyond that, and then you go, okay, well, maybe I'm... And then you go through your life, and you think of the different things that you have been or you've done, or maybe where you're born, or maybe you start talking about your family. So you expand beyond your name, which are just letters, right? And then you expand beyond what you do to more of the richness of the history, your story. Who am I? But still, that's not who we are, is it? So what would it be like to lean into the person we really are? It's a mystery. And not need to identify ourselves with the objects in our life, whether they're outside or thoughts in here or even feelings in here, but just observe them. That is called awareness. And when we take and stand in that place of being the one who hears and the one who sees, we are aware. And when we are aware, we're conscious. And when we are conscious, we are free to be. Wow. I think that's a comforting thought. It makes me so comfortable that I don't really need to identify myself with any way of thinking, any idea, concept, person, career, anything. Because what do we do the identification piece for anyway? It's because we're seeking to be free. We're seeking to know our truth. The truth and our truth are one thing. We are just an individualized expression of it. So sometimes we leave ourselves way over here to search on the quest, way over here to find this something greater. And when we go through all of that stuff, we come right back to where we are. And you said it in the song, right? Would you repeat the lyrics for me? Because now I've forgotten, but they're a perfect match. Right, come right back home.
Something always brings me back to you when things too long.
Yeah. We always end up right back where we started. But with such a greater sense of who we are and what is possible in life by means of us. That's the journey. Trust the process, live in the mystery, and love it. And you can decide whether you give the inner roommate notice or not. Put them on, what do they call it? You're on probation. You know. But it's better just to let the inner roommate talk away. One of the ideas that I was thinking of is that you can take that inner roommate and you can start to give sound to the conversation, what's going on in your head. So you can actually have a conversation, right? So then you give life to that thing. You give life to that inner roommate. And then you start even visualizing as you're speaking out loud what the conversation of the roommate is talking about. You visualize it's got a head and a body and it's a person. It's a person. You wouldn't stay 24 hours with that person. It would not be your best friend, your companion in life. Are you kidding me? You'd show it the curb. But because we've identified with it, right? It's like that when it narrates. Why does our inner roommate narrate? It's because it takes the outer world, like that car I was talking about, or that stunning dog, and it gives us a relationship with it. It brings that object into our inner realm of thoughts so that we feel connected. Tricky roommate. And there we sit. Connected, but in that place of identification and attachment so that that tape keeps going on and on and on and on. So I'm going to leave you with this question. This is thought. What would I be in this day today without identifying with my inner roommate. Without trying to push it away, without trying to escape it, without trying to replace it with another thought you think might be better or another picture. Just let it be what it is. And realize that you are the person hearing and witnessing. What would this day be? Well, you're going to find out. Because I know you'll take this thought with you. And so it is. Okay.